Hi, so today I want to call bullshit on Elon Musk work for free Department of Efficiency. And I really want to focus on this idea of the 80-hour work week and how we're all getting paid. So my name is Peggy van der Plassche. This is the Microdose Diet, and you can get more information on my website, themicrodosediet.com. So unless you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, it's been impossible to miss Musk's and his announcements regarding the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. So please, as a start, next time you hear this type of announcement, first you pinch yourself and then you ask yourself, how much of what is being said even make any sense? 2, how much do I like being hypnotized and manipulated? And 3, who is benefiting from that announcement? So I have to say the headline, Elon Musk DOGE seek high IQ revolutionaries willing to work 80 hours a week for free was really catnip to my brain. And I mean, there are so many elements, I don't even know where to start. And I would say, let's start with the high IQ revolutionaries, because that's really, for me, the cliche, the stereotype. It's elitist, it's delusional, it's toxical, masculine ideal, like I can already see, the bros lining up, puffing out their chest, eager to finally be seen for the geniuses they are. And if maybe you're a man, maybe you're married to a man, maybe you have a son, maybe you have a brother, whatever. If you think that is beneficial for any of the men of your life and that Musk extremely testosterone fuel ideal is positive, well, I'm going to ask you to watch a podcast I actually recorded a few months ago on how the patriarchy is actually failing men. And you're going to rethink about how these stereotypes actually are helpful for men, because they are not. So the use of the word revolutionary, I thought, was very interesting, because when you look at the economic inequalities in the US right now, they are very similar to the ones they were in France pre-revolution in 1789. And obviously, considering that the revolution was not very kind to the top echelon of society, and then Elon Musk right now is at the top of the US pyramid, I really find revolution to be an interesting choice of words. So that's the second thing. The third thing is free. That I find it totally mind-boggling. Who can work for free in the US? And I mean, pretty much any country in the world. But as a context, in 2024, the average debt per American is close to $67,000. And for the ones who had student loan, it averages $37,000 per borrower. The average American has less than $1,000 in savings. So again, who can work for free? And of course, it's always the same thing. If you are part of the lucky few who doesn't need money, who can work for free, that might be a good value proposition for you. But which means, once again, that this Department of Efficiency will be only populated by people who can afford to work for free, which means they're going to make decisions that are positive for themselves. And that is not how democracy works. So if you also look at, as a society, what does free labor mean? So if you aggregate all the unpaid or underpaid scheme, this is a race to the bottom. People will have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to survive, or maybe in the hope to actually make it. But this is not the American dream. I hear that, oh, it's the American dream. It is not the American dream. This is an exploitative treadmill where some people earn a lot of money on the back of others. And actually, not everything is free at the Department of Efficiency, because the applications are being accepted only and exclusively through X or X, Twitter. So to apply, you must have a verified account, which means you need to have a subscription to X Premium, which costs $32 to $168 per year. So, there is one thing for sure, someone is going to make some money out of that. And the cherry on the top, which is really the topic of this podcast, is this again, work 80 hours a week. So an 80-hour work week translates to approximately 13 and a half hours per week if you take one day off. If you listen to Musk, he himself brags that he works 120 hours a week. So, which means working 17 hours a day without ever a break. So, Musk never has a break and he works 17 hours every day. What a superman. So I really want to call bullshit on first, these big numbers, second, the definition of working, and third, glorifying oneself for working oneself to the bone. That doesn't make any sense to me. So first, who is really, really working 80 hours a week? And I'm not referring to the fact that, okay, maybe you're spending time at the office, or maybe, I don't know, you're asleep in front of your computer at home. That is not working. Who is actually productively working 80 hours a week? And yes, it is still damaging to waste time at the office or constantly check your phone, but this is not working. And that reminds me of my corporate days, that every time you would meet a coworker at a meeting, in a corridor, whatever, and you would ask him or her, how was their day? And the answer was always busy. And you would have to say that in a very frantic tone. And, it was seen as a badge of honor to be, busy. I'm so busy. But I mean, let's be real once and for all. No one can work productively and sustainably 80 hours a week or more. And no one should strive for it either anyway. So please, the next time you cross a coworker in a corridor or at the coffee shop, and they ask you, how is your day? Talk about your vacation, talk about your cat, talk about your office lover, whatever you want. But spare everyone the busy and everything that it implies. So again, bottom line, next time you come in contact with this type of announcement, go back to first principles. What is really, really, really true? And that is very simple. You are 100% being manipulated and you're likely going to get screwed. So now that I got out of my system, let's use this magical thing called the brain, and critical thinking is actually a beautiful thing. Let's talk further about this awfully damaging idea that working 80 hours a week is glamorous, great, and even necessary to succeed. So, as I said, I'm really, really calling bullshit on this glamorous, but let's be brutally honest here, stupid, irresponsible, and outright wrong announcements that is more critical than ever, because it really is like watching a train wreck in slow motion, except the train is full of sleep-deprived, stimulant adult individuals. So almost a year ago, I already wrote a newsletter on that, and the title, and you can read it or you can watch the podcast. The title was "Deadliest Substance on Wall Street," and it was really a deep dive on corporate abuse. And I mean, it's still very relevant because unfortunately, nothing much has changed. And I was really pointing out, you're going to say the obvious: Adderall, alcohol, zine. They are slowly turning Wall Street into a zombie apocalypse. And as I said, 1 year later, almost, it has not changed yet. So as if on cue, yesterday, the Wall Street Journal decided to remind us that we are doomed. with a huge front page story. I mean, it was a very, very in-depth article. And the title was The Drugs Young Bankers Use to Get Through the Day and Night. And the article was showing that apparently, if you're taking enough uppers to tranquilize a rhino, it is the success to it is the secret to success in finance. So I used to work in finance. I was absolutely not taking any Zine, any Adderall, or any cocaine or anything like that to be successful. I'm not in New York either, but the number of example and the number of companies and funds the Wall Street Journal showcase is really mind-blowing. And the really this piece, as I said, is very insightful, and it really highlights how widespread the use of performance enhancing substance are needed to maintain this, I mean, utterly deranged work rhythm that is championed by the like of Elon and the rest of the tech and finance overlord. So, and it really also mentioned how much the impacts are on the people, you know, from obviously health challenge, mental health challenge, breakdown, you know, like it is terrible. And we don't talk about it enough. So one of the things I also want to discuss is, I mean, who's responsible for that mess, you know? And if you're really looking at the different actors, actually it's really widespread, and it really starts with our values as a society, because we worships at the altar of wealth. And North American society has a serious fetish for wealth. And I mean, we practically canonize billionaires while at the same time ignoring the fact that they're probably powered by the tears of overworked and underpaid or unpaid interns. So we have a responsibility here as a society. Then again, this hustle culture. And this is brought to you by Silicon Valley snake oil salesmen. So Silicon Valley gurus use these terms, disruption. And I mean, the word disruption is basically a Trojan horse to peddle a endless hustle under the promise of riches. And that is as long as you're willing to sacrifice your health, your sanity, your personal life. I mean, what a bargain. The third is the companies that demand the impossible and then some to their employees. And, you know, again, this article was really focusing on Wall Street. So you would see all the banks, investment banking, you would see investment funds. And these businesses, they're like vampires. They're constantly sucking the life force of their employees in pursuit of ever increasing profits. And I mean, that's really a beautiful system when you look at that. And I wrote another piece a couple of years ago, actually, that was called Are Corporations Gaslighting Psychopaths? Obviously, there is a podcast as well. And it's really worthwhile looking at that, because again, if you want to understand how manipulated you are, that's a good wake-up call. So who is also responsible for this fallacy of we need to work 80-hour work week? Investor who only speak the language of return on investment. So, you know, the only thing they care about is money. We know that, da, 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 da. And then the challenge is that the quarterly earnings are constantly moving up. You know, the goalposts are constantly moving. So that means people need to be more and more productive. Yes, technology is supposed to help us with that, but mostly your 80-hour work week increase the revenue and the bottom line of your company. So investors are happy. So let's continue to tell you, yeah, amazing, work 80-hour week. You're a great guy, a great gal, go for it. So who's also responsible of that shit show? The doctors who end out Adderall like candy. I mean, let's not forget that, you know, like if you are able to kind of feign a little trouble with focusing, you get prescribed performance enhancing drugs. And I mean, it's a win-win. The patients get a quick fix and Big Pharma gets richer. Everyone's happy. Then again, back to Elon, people like him who think sleep is for the weak. That is again like one of the silliest things you can hear. He's the poster child of overwork. And I mean, he doesn't just brag about his own work schedule, but he seems to genuinely believe that everyone should do the same. And I mean, it's like trying to single-handedly usher in a new era of corporate Darwinism. I mean, I'm not interested in that. Don't see the point. And the last responsible party is Hollywood. Hollywood and this unhelpful portrayal of success. So every time you watch, I don't know, movie or things like a show, whatever, there is a constant reinforcement that career commitments means eating shit for years, not sleeping, being divorced 3 times, backstabbing your way to the top. I mean, apparently a corner office is ample compensation for a completely desolate personal life. So these are all the parties I believe have responsibility. But we do have responsibility as well. We don't have to believe that bullshit. And, this whole situation is really a dumpster fire. And I mean, it's quite entertaining, but it's really time to stop pretending that working ourselves to death is glamorous or necessary because let's face it, some people actually fall for that bullshit. And I know I was one of them. I mean, I remember watching Wall Street when I was a kid in France. I was just like, oh my God, that's what I want. Wake up at 5 in the morning, being a player, whatever. And then you realize, well, that's not what life is about. But that is what we sold. So I think it's important to aim for a world where we actually enjoy our lives instead of just grinding them away in the name of productivity. And maybe then we would not need drugs just to make it through the day. And I want to close on that. And it's really this irony of legal versus illegal. And, I've talked obviously before about the benefits of microdosing, especially microdosing magic mushroom. That's what I love for mental health, mental stamina, mental focus. But I have also emphasized the fact that I very carefully manage my workload to avoid burnout because high level performance, it requires balance, not relentless pushing. I thrive on having like crystal clear focus and also laser sharp concentration, but I cannot maintain that intensity for 8 hours a day, so let alone 80 hours a week. I have to build breaks. I have to go for a walk. I have to play tennis. I just have to, again, balance my workload because I cannot abuse my mental focus and my stamina to the point of exhaustion. And my goal with microdosing, of course, there is the mental health aspect, which is very important for me. But on the performance side, again, the point is not to push myself to the limit. It is ideally to achieve a less level of output with less work, more creativity, and in a sustainable way. Again, these stories of 80-hour a week, maybe you need that for a week or two because for whatever reason you have something that needs to get out. But it is obviously not sustainable. And I'm sure you'll see like the irony, and it is not lost on you that microdosing psilocybin is still illegal in most places. But Adderall, a prescribed drug, is widely available despite being classified as a Schedule II drug in the US, which is on par with cocaine and opioid. So let that sink in for a moment. A naturally occurring substance with promising research into its therapeutic potential is heavily restricted, while a powerful stimulant with a high potential for abuse is readily prescribed, often for questionable reasons, as we've just seen. So again, this just highlights the twisted logic of our current system. So we demonize certain substances while readily embracing others. And all of that is really based most often on outdated stigma and lobbying power rather than scientific evidence and what is good for the patient. So what I'm doing here is not, absolutely not, a blanket endorsement of psilocybin use for everyone. Absolutely not. But it is a call to question, again, question everything, question the arbitrary lines that we've drawn around what constitutes acceptable drug use and non-acceptable drug use. And the real question actually should be about safety, efficacy, and individual needs. So not moralistic judgment. And that is where we're missing the point. So again, this podcast is really about, first for you, let's take a step back. Every time you hear this type of announcement, does it make sense? Is it true? Who benefits from that? But also, are you living your life based on someone else's rules that were put in place to take advantage of you at the same time? So, on this uplifting note, I'm going to wish you a happy holidays. I hope you found that interesting. Please, share, comment as always. And I really, really hope that you're going to ask yourself these questions, because you might be doing something that's not great for you and that's going to come bite you in the ass in the future. So thank you so much for listening. You can learn more about me, my products actually, on my website, the Microdose Diet at microdosediet.com. And again, wishing you a wonderful holiday season. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.